How many shares of MPW do I need to own to make $500 a month from just the dividends alone? Welcome back to the channel, guys. Today we are talking about MPW once again. For those of you interested, I just put out a 5-minute DD video about MPW, talking about what I like about it and the finances. But today we are going over this dividend yield, and we are going to calculate exactly how much money you need just from the dividend to make $500 every single month. For those of you that might be new to MPW, we can see that it is really beaten down. It has had a terrible couple months, terrible couple of years actually, down 46% in the past 6 months, 63% on the year. Really, really ugly. This thing was trading for above $10. And on the 5-year, down 78%. From all-time highs, it is down 84%. So this is not just some stock to go throwing your money into. It has had a really bad track record. But today we're talking about how this yield can help with the price action and to see what this thing might be able to do in the future. The main issue for dividend investors is that MPW recently had a dividend cut in June of 2023, where they cut their dividend from 29 cents all the way down to 15 cents. So they cut it by more than 50%. And this is what scares a lot of people, because you hate it when you have consistent dividend income and then they cut it. And it is also a really bad sign for a company when they do cut their dividend, especially one that is so popular among dividend investors. Now, their current yield is back up again to 15.63%. And here's where this company starts to look good, in my opinion. And I did talk about this a lot more in the other video, so I'm not going to go too far into it. Their payout ratio has dropped to 46%, which I think is great. But of course, their compound annual growth rate and all of that is doing terribly. But now let's go ahead and jump into the DRIP calculator and see how the stock has performed prior with dividends. Looking at a DRIP calculator of MPW versus SPY, we can see that with $10,000 invested in 2005, you would still end with a growth with dividends of $14,000 with MPW, $60,000 with SPY, because of course it has been doing phenomenal compared to MPW recently. And without dividends reinvested, you still get a 50% return on MPW, which is actually better than the investment if you had dividends reinvested, which is really, really interesting. And SPY is actually less than it would have been, but still a significant margin between these two. Now, the main issue is, had MPW not had a terrible last couple of years, you would have ended up with over $65,000 off a $10,000 investment with dividends reinvested. This last drop has been what is killing MPW. And this is why I think MPW in the long term could do better. It is so beaten down. It is so on sale that I think even with their net asset value, they are more profitable than what their evaluation is right now. And so we're going to talk about that. Let's go ahead and jump into the calculation for MPW and see exactly how many shares we need to make that $500 every single month just from those dividends. So now for the fun part, we are going to calculate exactly how much we need. So let's just do a rough estimate. We can do some simple math, but I'm not going to try and get too far into it. But what we're trying to do is we're trying to make $6,000 a year off of this 15.63%. So it should be somewhere a little bit under $45,000, just based off the fact that a 15% yield would be around there. So if we do go, let's say we do $50,000 to start, we know that this is likely too much, and we're going to do over a 1 year. So we calculate the returns, and boom, almost $8,000. This is where this gets to be absolutely crazy money. So we can actually, let's lower this now. Let's do 45,000, and that still should be too much because we have the extra 0.63. So let's do 40,000. Let's see what this gets us. And boom. This year's return, $6,252. So we can even go a little bit lower. I'm not going to go too far into the technicals, but this is pretty wild. So based off of this, a $40,000 investment, if the price of the stock was flat and remained just the same, traded sideways for the rest of 2024, you would still end with that $500 a month, which is over $6,000 every single year just from holding this stock. Now, in my personal opinion, I'm not a professional. This is not financial advice. But in my personal opinion, I think MPW could outperform. There's a lot of area for it to run back up. I think if the management team gets things together and gets it under control, I think this thing could run. There's a lot of things that could help this company. And as of right now, I don't see as many negatives. Now, there are negatives, of course, if let's say they lose another big tenant or anything along those lines. But just because of how low the evaluation is already and their net asset value is so high, I think the intrinsic value of this company would be worth something to look into. Now, again, not financial advice. It's just my opinion. I do own this stock, so I am definitely biased. But what we're going to do now, we're going to pull up the calculator and we're going to see exactly how many shares we need to own to make this much money. Okay, with the calculator pulled up, we know that the current price of MPW after hours is $3.84. So what we're going to do is we're going to take this $40,000 and we are going to divide that by our 384, which hits us with 10,416.6 shares. We'll round up 10,417 shares. So if you were to own this many shares, that is how you would get $500 every single month from this company. Now, this is extremely risky. I do not recommend anyone put all of their money into one stock. I simply do this because I want to see how my dividends can compound and actually start paying things off in my real life. Like if it could cover my car payment. Maybe one day I can get to where these dividends cover my mortgage. All of these kind of things while all reinvesting any extra and continuing to pay off debt to become financially free. That is the goal as most dividends investors see it. Let me know what you guys are looking for when it comes to high yielding dividend investments and if you would even consider MPW after everything it's undergone the past couple of years. Now, again, it's high risk. I know that. I'm not trying to put out a bunch of videos about this with it being this high risk, but it's honestly one of my more hopeful stocks. So, as always, guys, thank you for watching. Let me know what you think in the comments down below, and don't forget to like the video. Goodbye.